like-hearted people, the best group in the world, Rotarians. Thanks.
It's a pleasure to have you. And for those that will be listening later, we're going to talk a little bit about what a Rotary Action Group is, and how does the Rotary Action Group for Peace play into that, and how we can help. But let's go into a little bit of pathos first. Reem, I know you have an interesting story, and if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to please share your story and how you came to Rotary.
Thanks for asking. So I grew up in Palestine, and Palestine is a conflict zone because we reside under the Israeli occupation. So to give you a glimpse of what does that look like, I'll share a story with you of Suha, my neighbor, who was born in what's called the Second Intifada, which is really a violent time in the West Bank. And after a year of her birth, her mom came to visit for a morning tea, and she shared with us Soha's first word. And I was excited. I was like, what's Soha's first word? She spoke, and she said, "Takh." And "takh" in Arabic means shooting. So that is a baby's first word in a conflict zone. That was kind of a threshold for me that I could not numb myself anymore. And it was like a wake-up call where I was very intentional about bringing it about change and changing things in a way that is coherent with my parents and my family's, my values. Growing up in a wonderful family, I love my mom and dad. I was taught that education is a great path forward, and service is a duty. And so I was looking, throughout my career, I've done, I organized an international dance festival. I was very interested in empowering my community, so I've done a lot of that work. And I continue to look for more opportunities. I wanted to break the glass ceiling, and education, I believed, was the way. And I had an encouraging family and community. So I was looking around, and Rotary seemed to fit the values that I believed in. That's education and service through the Rotary Peace Fellowship program. So I applied, and it's funny how I applied. Do you want to know the story?
Please.
It's a cute story. So my mom owns a hair salon, and as all hairdressers, they like to talk. So so one of the people who visited her hair salon was a Rotary Peace Fellow. She's an Arab Israeli, so she lived in Israel, but she came to the West Bank to do her hair at times of peace. And so my mom was telling her about my interest. I'm looking for scholarships, and so she told her about the Rotary Peace Fellowship program. And so my mom calls me up, and she says, "Bring up a pen and paper." And that's nothing like my mom. My mom doesn't, and she says, "Write this email." It's like, what you're talking about? She doesn't even have an email. So I don't know if she doesn't even know what email is. But she's adorable. She's like, okay. I was like, I hope it's the right email. So I listened carefully, and she gave it to me. And it was the right email. So I emailed this Peace Fellow, and she sent me the link, and I applied. And I ended up being accepted at the Duke UNC Rotary Peace Center, where I started learning about, I applied to study for city and regional planning and international peace and conflict resolution. So those were my specialties, and how can we use that framework to advance world peace. And that's what I currently do here in Portland, Oregon, through the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, and trying to apply that into my work.
Reem, what is the presence of Rotary in Israel and Palestine?
Well, there's several clubs in the West Bank, I believe now 4. So, and there is a lot more in Israel, I believe probably around 30. I don't know much about Israel, but there definitely there's a gap between the number of Rotarians in Israel and Palestine, and that's and that actually goes back to the issue or the cause I'm really passionate about, which is peace and equality. Peace inequality is a real trend in the world that is underreported. And according to the Global Peace Index produced by the Institute for Economics and Peace, countries with peaceful measures, they don't deteriorate at the same rate as as the conflict regions, as regions of conflict. So you will see the trend, growing. So, which means that countries or societies of that has like structures of peace, they're more resilient to conflict shocks. But countries with more conflict, when they have conflict like instigated in those communities, they're more likely to deteriorate at a really fast rate. So that keeps the gap growing if we don't intervene by empowering these communities in conflict to establish structures and systems for peace. So it's not conflict is or peace is not only the end of war or the absence of conflict. Peace is really investing in the systems and structures that helps communities and empower communities to contribute to establishing peace in the communities. So that's why Rotary 6 areas of focus are so important to be exported to these places.
Then let me ask you about the format of your work. That's we've heard the backstory, and we certainly have kept up with some of the things that have brought you to be motivated to be an executive director for the Rotary Action Group for Peace. Will you let our listeners know what is a Rotary Action Group in general?
Well, the Rotarian Action Group in general is basically, it's different based on how the structure, but I know about my RAG, the Rotarian Action Group for Peace, is really a nonprofit organization, but it's semi-autonomous because we are autonomous in the way we're designing our programming, but we have to follow the Rotary guidelines because we have the Rotary name and the Rotary benefits. So we have a free booth, for example, in all conventions. We have presence, and so our main goal is to really advance the peace area of focus the peace area of focus in Rotary. And we do that by, structurally, we are a nonprofit, but our focus is international, and we focus on the Rotary network. And I believe the other action groups are focused on their own causes. So there is WSRAG, there's ISRAG. WSRAG is the water group, ISRAG is the environmental group. And because of all these different causes, they're different in a way in their nature. When you approach access to water is different than access to peace because the problem itself is different. And so in that way, our program design is reflective of the needs of those problems. So so that's what the Rotarian Action Group for Peace is focused on, advancing the area of peace by educating Rotarians, by raising the portfolio of peace. Those are our strategies. And the third one is helping support Rotarians in their peace projects. So those are the three focuses or the three pillars of the RAG for Peace.
Well, let me stay on your mission a little bit. And at the same time, let me invite anyone that's listening to, in your chat box as we go through, if you have a question, just like before, if you would type your question, I'll be happy to ask Reem. Reem, you had talked about it, and I'm interested on the origins of Rotary Action Group for Peace. And if you would go a little bit more into the mission. You had touched on, peace in the definition of the RAG is not just the absence of war. Tell us a little bit more about that mission.
Okay, so the RAG for Peace is, as I explained, our focus is to really activate the Rotary network to bring peace, intentional peace into their clubs, into their districts, into their communities by supporting them with a framework of positive peace. So positive peace is really the attitudes, structures, and systems that makes a peaceful society. And we learn about positive peace by looking at thanks to the Institute for Economics and Peace framework. That's the framework we're adopting in trying to empower the Rotary network. It's also worth mentioning that the Institute for Economics and Peace has an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, or partnership with Rotary International. So it is the framework that also Rotary is supporting and advancing as well. So we adopt that framework and make it more accessible. So to give you an example, I conceptualized a workbook, and we worked on this workbook that is now on Positive Peace Academy, which is an academy available to Rotarians worldwide. And you can learn about the framework of positive peace, but the RAG for Peace contribution was to make this framework related to peace projects by helping Rotarians understand answer the question, how can I use this positive peace framework to apply it to my peace project? So how can I think about peace project while hitting those notes of positive peace? So when you go to the Positive Peace Academy, you will learn about it, and then the workbook of the RAG is there to give you real life examples of around that framework and help you process that. So that's just an example. There's other ways that the RAG is supporting the mission. Is we adopted what's called the Peacebuilder Club program. And the Peacebuilder Club program originated in District 5100 in Oregon. We had initially 21 Rotary clubs who wanted primarily to support the Rotary Peace Fellowship program by becoming a peace district. And so they initially wanted to create a way to have the clubs contribute to that fund. So the RAG liked this idea of a network rather than really just the funding model. And we thought this is a great way to expand globally and create a global infrastructure for peace, where we expand this network. So once we've adopted the program, now we have over 200 clubs in almost 23 countries around the world from one single district. So when you expand this network, you increase the possibilities of collaboration, because you have exchange of ideas, resources, possibilities, and opportunities. And so the RAG is really more of a hub for peace action, convening Rotarians of interest towards peace and supporting them by giving them resources, giving them ideas, connecting them together in various ways. And an example of connecting them is, as you've been on our show, Dean, the Together for Peace webinar. Yeah.
Well, so with all this expansion, did I miss how long this has taken? How old is the RAG?
The RAG started in, I believe, so I arrived to the RAG in 2016. So I've been there over 4 years and a half, I think. And when I arrived, it was there for 3 years, I would.
Okay.
So
it sounds like peace is catchy.
Yeah.
And this is one of our questions, and I want to preface this question, Reem, with you had talked about the support of Rotary, and you have booths, and one of the other members and I, Richard Hartwig, and I usually go to our Rotary conferences, and we had the opportunity to meet you in Toronto and then meet you and Anna in Hamburg last year. And we also became a Peacebuilder Club at the same time. And since we are a Peacebuilder Club, it's our responsibility to have a peace committee. At this time, and it's especially timely now, the question is, what steps can Rotarians take to encourage peace locally in one's own community?
Perfect. So I think what Rotarians basically can do, if you think about your Rotary club, as a platform to convene community, to connect people, to connect resources. So think of it as a mini RAG, but at the local level. That way, for example, you would identify, if you reach out, let's say, start with the problem that is really important to you in the community. Dean, you and I talked earlier, and you said that the border could be a problem, you know, that is various and it's broad problem. So what you can do is, like, you meet, Rotarians can meet and decide what is it that we want to focus on. Should we focus on multiple things? So it could be focus on how can we connect, for example, the access to education to peace. So when you educate immigrant children who are left vulnerable on the border, and say, I'd like to select a few children who I would like to give them scholarships to advance their skills or to go to school. So when you empower the vulnerable community, you're empowering not just the person, you're empowering their family. It could be the women in that community that you'd like to empower. It could be through giving them access to health, because in the 6 areas of focus, all the 6 areas of focus relate to peace. But how you design the project, it is enhancing peace. So if you target, there's higher need to give education to people who might, you know, not like in the future have a worse future if they don't have access to education. So it's a necessity in that case. Just like if you think about the peace and equality concept. So it's more likely for someone in a dire situation to become more dire if there's no intervention. So identifying who is in need the most and what is the best intervention. And really, to me, peace starts from the heart. So where your heart is, like your club, who do you care about? Ask your question, yourself this question: who do I care about in that situation? And I think our duty is service above self. So we need to think about the most vulnerable as Rotarians, because if there is no one else to help, we need to step up, and we have always done that. That's the spirit of Rotary. That's our legacy. That's why we are a humanitarian organization. So really just asking that question: who I care about and how can I bring those resources to those people? And Rotarians don't have to only do that on their own. Another power of Rotary is partnerships. So if you, for example, identify, let's say, the children who need access to education. If you know an organization or a community college, maybe you can make a deal with them to make the, you know, to give them a quota of some sort, maybe to give them a scholarship or match the scholarship. You can talk to organizations, humanitarian organizations who's helping those families and those children to identify, for example, children who are bright and have the potential of leadership. So you can capitalize on this information. So you require some mapping. But if this is overwhelming, the easiest way is to maybe reach out to a Rotary Peace Fellow who is interested in helping you. So a lot of Peace Fellows might be interested in supporting you lead a project or conceptualize a project, because that's their training. And Rotary has 1,200 of them. So engaging a Peace Fellow in your thinking process, design process, is great. And if you want more ideas before you decide on anything, I advise you to read the workbook of the Rotarian Action Group for Peace. It's really helpful.
Thank you, Reem, very much. You know, and one of the things that symbolize everything that you've been talking about is peace pole. Now, you had made mention of it, and Richard and I and some of the club members had seen and referenced peace poles. We have them in our area, and we're fortunate enough to have our director of parks in our club. And once we build there's a new park going up at our city hall. One of our goals is to place a peace pole there. What role does the RAG play, and what are some best practices for a ceremony to bring people together to raise that symbol?
So Peace Ball is really, the RAG offers like this program is available as like for Peacebuilder clubs to start, because it offers this way to raise awareness about peace as a priority in the community. So, and it also convenes the community around a common theme. And if you notice, the Peace Ball is a monument with all these languages, say, may peace prevail on earth, in different languages. So personally, as an immigrant, when I see from the Middle East and I see may peace prevail on earth in Arabic, I instantly feel welcomed. I instantly feel respected. And so it's recognizing and celebrating the differences of people. And so it is a great monument that I think people take not just in the physical format, but is something you can carry in your mind and your heart. And when you go tell others about that experience. So I think what we've done in good examples in Portland is that we planted a peace ball at the North Precinct with the police department here, and the community and the police came together to be reminded of their mission to bring about peace by serving the community, by working together with the community. So I think strategically identifying the partnerships, dedicate and who you would like to dedicate this peace ball to, or like plant this peace ball at. So public parks would be a good one, maybe high schools, and maybe you can like have that be an annual ceremony where you think about the community to share reflections of peace and commonality and unity. Because really, at the end of the day, all that matters is our human values. And if we are cherishing and empowering our human values, we can tackle any problem together.
I like that idea of actually continuing to go annually. Don't just set it and forget it. Very good idea. And I see some other people are joining us. And if you have any questions for Reem, please type those in your chat box. But I get the next one. Reem, you know, when for anybody that's been watching their bulletins or been dialing in to watch Together for Peace, I have been a huge fan. It really wraps up my week on a good note. However, I'm concerned because just like Game of Thrones and Johnny Carson and Dolly Parton before that, when they went off the air, they left a hole in my heart as well as in my schedule. And so you've been doing this for 10 weeks. How much longer are you going to continue this? And how do you get all the wonderful speakers truly from around the world, peace builders from around the world?
Thank you so much, Dean. That's a brilliant question. So we are contemplating the idea of making it seasonal. So like kind of have wrap up the season. So I have not yet decided with the team when are we wrapping the first season of this webinar, because we have momentum. So we want to like identify the right time. We're looking at the numbers and the behavior of our audience. And so based on that, this is our pilot season, we should say. This is the first season. But we definitely will need some time to recuperate it, like to plan the future season and to think about other ways of engaging. And so, yes, definitely it is a question on our mind. But to answer your question, well, in Rotary, if you go to all the Rotary conventions and as a Rotarian, you are a networker and you know people like Rotary. The beauty of Rotary is that you have friends from all over the world, and it's so easy. Like everyone here in the club, I already feel at home. I feel like I know you for a long time because we share the same values. So it's not really hard to find a speaker in Rotary because everyone is helping everyone, and you've accumulated friendships over time. And so almost everyone I interview is a friend, is someone I've met in a Rotary event or a function or through a project. So they're all great people, and people I love, I admire, I look up to, and appreciate their work. I think it's important for us to be authentic and to share with the world the things that we personally value, because that's really important for us to be open-hearted and do that through showing our communities that we cherish and share it with the world.
Well, thank you for that, Reem. Just a reminder to everyone, in your bulletin that you received today, you also received a direct link. And Reem, tell me if I missay this, but the Together for Peace lecture series, Reem is an interviewer of peace builders from around the world, different countries, different stories, different problems and issues. And if you would like to participate to where you actually can ask questions or ask Reem to ask questions, you can hit the link that says participate. And if you would like to just watch and listen in, you can do that through their Facebook Live post. Do I have that correct?
Yes, yes. So we would love to have as many of you join, because the idea behind Together for Peace, it was really a response to COVID-19. We thought that Rotarians and their hearts, they want to serve, and with COVID-19, there's a lot of there's emerging needs. It's because of COVID, and the most vulnerable they need our attention, they need our help, and we can't forget about that as because of just the focus on COVID. So we were really intentional about bringing those issues to light and see how, when it fits, that plays out. And the idea is Together for Peace is that we all have the power to turn our living rooms into platforms for peace. There's power in us coming together and take collective action. There's power in us caring about the same issue. There's power when we communicate at a human level, because it's really magical with technology to elevate our humanity by sharing our collective concerns, collective hopes and aspirations, and the RAG hopes that we, through that series, will create collective action.
Well, Reem, it's been an honor. I promised you, I know you have a few more meetings that you have to Zoom to, and to give you a second to collect yourself before you go into those Zoom meetings, let me say it's been an honor to have you. Thank you for coming. I hope it won't be the last time. And again, it's been like interviewing Johnny Carson to me, and you don't know who that is. But Google him, and thank you again very much, ma'am.
Thank you all. You're such a lovely group, and I am so honored, and I feel thrilled to have new friends. So I look forward to connecting with you again soon in the future, hopefully. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Reem.
Thank you, Jadine, for putting on or getting us such a great speaker for today. It's very, at this time, it's one of those things that we need to keep in the forefront of our mind, the way that we react to things and take things in, peace being the largest goal. With that being said, we've got about 10 minutes. I'm going to zip through some quick announcements, and then Justin is going to give us a whole calendar of dates that you need to be writing down, so get your pen handy. We're going to start off with our birthdays. We have Deborah Brandstetter is celebrating her birthday yesterday, so if you see her around, give her a call. Justin, send her the birthday picture there with everybody with their party hats. And Rotary anniversaries. Dolores Guerrero is celebrating 7 years in Rotary. Mark McLaughlin, I don't know if I have this 100% correct because we have to get this put into the system correctly, but he's been a Rotarian for 4 years. So if you see him around, Uchev, wish him a Rotary anniversary. Okay, what else do we got here? Makeup meetings. Everyone who's been here has been great at attending. We have a lot of members who we haven't been able to engage with, so if you see them, hear from them, let them know that they can make up their meetings online. They can view meetings and then submit a form, and it's available online to make up those attendance. Do I have any happy dollar announcements? Check the screen here.
I got one, Ruth.
All right, JD, what do you got?
I don't know if y'all, I'm always about like 5 days behind on reading the Kingsville Record, but Richard put an op-ed in there. And I'm also a fan of The Economist. And so when I get The Economist, every once in a while, I'll bring it up to you. He'll get published in there too. But good on Richard. He's getting published.
Yes, I saw that too. Speaking of that, I don't know if you saw his letter, but it is in relation to masks wearing and how you should present yourself in public. So we're going to be reaching out to all of you to get a survey for how you think Rotary should proceed with our face-to-face meetings. We're going to give it an open-ended question so you can put out all your concerns, and our Rotary board will be considering that either at a special meeting, if we can have it happen before our next board meeting, and if not, at our board meeting. We're working with Amanda Cherry to come up with a plan that will allow her to meet all of her the requirements for her to have under her business, and then we're going to be trying to keep everybody's concerns and their safety in mind before we proceed. Let's see here. We have any other happy dollar announcements before we move on? All right, Crystal. Let me unmute you. There you go.
It was a happy moment. We found out that our wonderful 5-year-old will be attending the same school as our 13-year-old at Santa Gertrudis. So that was a huge weight off our shoulders, having 2 kids in the same place so that we can properly take care of our rambunctious and growing children.
That's wonderful. First grade or kinder? First. Oh, kinder. Okay.
Kinder.
All right.
So I got a kinder and an 8th grader.
That's a fun bunch. Any other happy dollar announcements? Brenda, you want to tell us how happy you are to be back at work?
Sure. No, I'm not a work from home type of person, so I am very happy to be back in my office, though I was late today and I apologize, but I already took attendance, so everybody is accounted for. But yes, it's happy to get back on a good schedule, and seeing people and building our format here and continuing it and starting to offer face-to-face courses, which we're getting excited about. And we are having College for Kids. It will be a virtual format. And we'll have the 2 weeks here in June, and then we're going to do it again in July. So we have some great things. They'll still get tours. They'll just be virtual tours of the university here, virtual tours of museums, the Smithsonian. We have Texas Parks and Wildlife is going to do a live thing for us. So we have some different things we're signing up for, and we're really excited that we're still able to have it, just have it virtually. So
is registration open yet or not yet?
No, registration opened, and we only can have 25 because of the formatting that we're doing. And so I got all 25 within 8 hours. And then, but it'll happen again in July. So watch my Facebook page because we'll do it again in July. And it's the exact same curriculum. So it should be a new group of kids. It won't be the same group trying to do it again. So, but yeah, and then I'll get to be in contact with 50 children, and that's our goal every year is to provide something for 50 children. And this year it's free of charge. Since I'm not having to deal with them all day, and I don't have to feed them snacks, which I don't know if you know, kids can eat a ton of things. So saving all the money, I was able to come up with some other cutbacks, and I'm able to provide it free of charge to the children.
That's awesome. Thank you, Brenda. Any other happy dollar announcements or announcements? Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. I wanted to talk quickly about our Paul Harris drawing before we do it, because there may be people who don't understand what that is. So let's go into that. Each week we do a Paul Harris weekly drawing, and right now we're doing it on a color wheel. So we spin it twice and we choose 2 names. Those names are then put into a bucket, another spin wheel, and at the end of the quarter, we spin again out of those winners. That individual, we send off a contribution in their name for the Paul Harris Fellowship. So it'll be donated to the annual fund in their name, and that's what that is. Does anybody have any questions? Uche, did I explain that well? You've been put in when you won last week, you got put into the drawing for the quarterly. If you win the quarterly, we will make a contribution to Rotary in your name, and the points and contribution will be on your honor. Okay, well, having said that, let's just spin up that wheel. See if I can find it here.
So when is it quarterly?
So we do this quarterly is the contribution amount, but every week we choose.
I mean, when?
Quarterly, Uche, quarterly is like a calendar quarterly. So the end of March,
End of June,
end of June,
September, and
Okay.
December.
September, and December.
Okay, that was all I was asking. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that was Mark McLaughlin is one of our winners. And oh, that was so close. Okay, so Brenda will get those added to the list, and we'll get ready for the quarterly drawing in a couple of weeks. As y'all know, our Rotary year is going to be ending in this month, the end of June, and Justin will be ready and he's willing and able to take the torch and start leading our club for the next Rotary year, with Crystal lined up right behind him. So we've been working on our transitional plans. I'm sure Justin's going to be coming at you with some dates for us to meet up as a group, and for our chairpersons to give us some direction on what the plans are and what's going to be expected of us. So if you have questions, concerns, you want to be involved in some way that you haven't been already approached, let any board member know, and we will set you up to be successful next year. And that will be a segue into Justin's delivery of dates and our district events. What do we have coming up? I know it's a lot.
Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. And yes, we are working for a peaceful transition of power. It's a little late to stage a coup. And so, yeah, I think we'll have a nice transition. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of things. And so on this crazy bananas sheet that you have here are a few things upcoming locally in the district and beyond. And so there's a little color code there so you can kind of decipher what's happening and where. Chronologically, our next upcoming thing is on this Friday, June 5, and that is for our district assembly. And so similar to how we ran the district convention last month, we're doing something similar for district assembly this month, where we're going to break it out into a few pieces. And so the first part to district assembly we can see here is for club leadership. And now don't be discouraged. It's not just for presidents. It's not just for president-elects. Anyone interested in any type of leadership is welcome to join that. There are links on our club website. There are links on the district website. There are links in that magnificent email that goes out before the meeting, and so to sign up for that. And so we have district assembly for club leadership coming up this Friday. Also this Friday is the Rotary Action Group for Peace, and we just had Reem talking to us about that. This Saturday is the second piece to the district assembly, and that is for admin. Not just secretaries and treasurers, but all sorts of club administration. Unfortunately, some of us won't be able to join that because we're already going to be in a Rotary Leadership Institute training that day. But if you're able to make that, that would be magnificent. Looking to our next treasurer and secretary, wink, wink. She's looking away. We also have part 2 of Rotary Leadership Institute. We have 2 offerings of that coming up. I think one of them might be full. There's another one that is available. And then we have our next piece to District Assembly. And later this month, we have our Rotary International virtual convention because we're not going to Honolulu, which would have kicked off this Saturday, as some of us are sadly acutely aware of. And don't forget that the second to last Tuesday of the Rotary year is June 23, and that will be our club installation of officers and directors and all that. We are tentatively planning on having that in person on campus, the university campus, between the sub and the biology building. But that is mildly to be determined, but that is definitely on Tuesday the 23rd. We also have district installation that everybody is welcome to attend, and that will be the last Saturday of the Rotary year, last Saturday in June. And we have some leadership things beyond RLI beginning July 15, and RMDTI, Rotary Multi-District Training Institute, and that will be the first Saturday in August. And of course, it'll be on Zoom. I've been in the past, and it's a magnificent way to drink from the Rotary fire hose. And so, of course, more information will be on our website, on the district website, and in those emails that go out. If there are any questions on any of these things, then you're welcome to ask. I'll stay on for a little bit after this. And Ruth, you're still muted.
Can you stop your screen share so I can share
Yep.
something as well? Okay, thank you. Okay, given that, do I have any other closing remarks or concerns, questions, anything else anybody wants to throw out there? Okay, well then I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to close out with the 4-way test. Let me pull it up real quick just in case anybody needs it. Okay, will you please join me in the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all. Please remember to invite all of your other Rotarians to visit us on Zoom. We'll be back here next week with another great program. Thanks to Jadine, who's been doing a wonderful job so far. And we'll see y'all soon. Stick around if you have any questions. And if not, hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your day.
So, Jadine, you've done a wonderful job so far.
Yeah, I know. It took a little. Are we off the air?
No, we're not. We're still recording.